Hi, my name is Josh Furness. You may know me from the YouTube Misophonia dramatization video, or also the ABC 2020 segment that was done that I was featured in amongst other people. I'm here today, I just want to say a few things about misophonia, how I visualize it, how I see it, and how it affects me. But more importantly, not necessarily how it affects me, but how I think about misophonia and its relationship to happiness, and how I think that I can create a better, more positive life for myself, and possibly for you as well, by how I approach some of these things. So, I look at it as two bars. I have a life bar and a today bar. And I think that I can live with misophonia, kind of a life happiness bar, closer to around a 7, maybe even a 7.5. I have triggers, mouth noises, keyboard typing, some voices, things like that fill in these top areas that I'm never going to be able to completely get rid of. But I can live a life that's quite wonderful and exciting nonetheless, even with those things there. However, the today bar is extremely volatile. It can move in any direction. As you know, you can have a day where it just feels like a 2 or a 1. It's the worst of the worst. People don't even understand the kind of days that we deal with sometimes. They're way down there. Other times, we can have great days. We might even forget for a second or for a moment. We have these days of bliss that we're living the 8s and 9s, and we forget maybe we even have misophonia. Maybe. But I think what's happening is that there's two things I think we need to be careful of. Is that living and experiencing days that are way down here in the 2. When we're experiencing 2s, we're living such negative days that we might discover a new trigger. We might adapt to something in the wrong way, and this 7 all of a sudden becomes a 6 or 5.5. We lose the ability. We might add a new trigger, or think of life in a negative way where things fill up our positive potential life. This bar is very hard to move, positively or negatively, especially for someone with misophonia. But what we can do is we can control this daily bar. Every day we have a chance to wake up and experience a 10 or a 2. So the way I see it is, how do we experience as many positive days as possible? 7s, 8s, that would be a 9, 8s, and 7s. And I think that relates to some basic human needs just that revolve around happiness. And as someone with misophonia, it's much more important that we're aware of these things and taking care of them than someone without. You can show this video to your mother, to your best friend or something, and they could get something out of understanding basic happiness and making some commitments to it. But for us, it's dire importance. So I have 2 things I want to show you. And I think it's something you can do today. A couple challenges. One is, a couple 5-minute challenges. One is write your basic happiness needs, okay? So there's things that we do that have an effect every day before we even wake up about how this bar is going to play out for us. And I have here, I wrote down a few of mine. Hopefully this shows up well in the video. These are things that I will not compromise on, okay? You can kind of see up there. Sleep is very important. Physical activity is very important. I have real commitments to the amounts here. Sometimes I don't even set alarm clocks. I just set timers. Like when I go to sleep at 3 a.m., I'm waking up in 7.5 hours. When I go to sleep at 10 p.m., I'm waking up in 7.5 hours. I know my body and what I need to have a successful day. That goes with athletics, physical activity, that goes with eating healthy. I've just discovered how important my diet is to my personal happiness. Things that you might not even understand, that might take a little while for you to get used to. A couple other things on there were relationship, personal relationships that I have, but also achieving short-term goals and enjoying the journey. Some of us can get stuck in these lethargic ruts and not necessarily enjoy it. So what I challenge you to do is, and these better be on there, some of these better be on there, actually all of these to some extent better be on there, but customized to you, plus other things, and I have other personal things on mine. Make a list, take 5 minutes, make a list. Think maybe I need X amount of sleep, but then also experiment and learn what's best for you. Some of us have already done this, but we might not have made real commitments to some of these things, like I have and like other people I know. That's challenge number 1. Challenge number 2 is this ideal day, okay? What I mean by that is I want you to take the worst day of your week. For me, it's Wednesday. Take the worst day of your week, the one that's consistently like you know, that's like a 4 or a 3. You're just like, oh, I can't get over this. You go to bed not wanting to look forward to this day because you know it's going to be down here and it's going to affect, you know, your life in long term. So let's take your worst day, your consistently worst day, and let's understand it in an ideal way where it's a 7, maybe, or a 6, okay? So what I've done is I've written my Wednesday down, my Wednesday work day. And it's very detailed. It even starts before I went to bed the night before. When I woke up is in there. And then the most important thing is right here, actually. It's how I dealt with my first misophonia reaction. Because in your ideal world, you can say, I wish I didn't have misophonia, or I wish that person didn't make that mouth noise. But the thing is, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. You don't have a choice. But what you do have a choice, what you have the potential chance at, you have the potential to control your reaction. We know that we can't sit here and say, okay, I wish I didn't do it, but mentally, you can at least make an attempt. That's the only thing that you possibly have control over. I'll write down this quote that I just wrote. It's not that you wish they didn't make a noise, or that misophonia didn't exist in this challenge, because they will, and it does. But how will you deal with it? It's the only thing you have a chance at controlling. So I wrote down a quick example of the potential time in breakfast at work when I see other people and how I've reacted to it. I can't really read it backwards, sorry, but hopefully you can read this, pause it maybe, and see it. So write your ideal day out and just how you deal with it in potentially the most positive way. You might not be able to actually experience that, but you understand the mindsets of how it starts. Those are the 2 things I'd like you to come away with from this. Start with your happiness list, your I will not compromise list. Make it, take 5 minutes, just write it out. And then write down your ideal day. Take your worst day of the week. Write it out, how it would just play out wonderfully for you in the best way possible. And see if you can't think of that ideal day. Just start with that. Think of that ideal day. It's usually that 2. It's usually that Wednesday for me can be a 2 so often. I don't like that. But turn it into a 7, at least on paper. Make a start for that. Because I believe that while misophonia affects all of us, I mean, we can live with misophonia, we have to. And I also think that we can live with misophonia and be happy.